One thing that happens frequently is maybe one service is being shared among many departments or divisions or business units. And at that point, job accounting becomes important. Most accounting features and most auditing features that are automated, like say in Windows, you can just have them log, and then you can look at the log to see, okay, of this service, this particular business unit used 60% of that service, or 60% of the time, or 60% of whatever. And those folks use that percentage, and these folks use this percentage. It's very common to have departments pay for their share, and you want to have a log of some kind so that you can charge them. Windows Server 2012, in some of the new group policies and the software restrictions, you can have things that rather than just restrict people from using software, you can actually just log it for accounting purposes so that you can charge back to the different departments. So if you're going to do this, of course you have to have good accounting on this so that you can charge the departments. And the IS auditor is going to want to take a look at, well, how well were the logs kept and how accurate was the chargeback to the different departments. So that is another thing that the IS auditor is going to want to be looking at when we're talking about input and output control. So as an IS auditor, when we're evaluating service level management practices, here's our checklist. We want to make sure that we take a look at the logs, see that the jobs were scheduled, were completed, and completed properly, and that there were no errors or warnings. Watch out even for the warnings, because the warning could be like, the backup didn't complete. We want to take a look at the scheduled applications and their inputs, along with the time estimates for preparing and processing the data. Make sure that they actually are built into the service level agreements. Look at the individuals have the authority to access and alter the job schedule priorities. That is something as an auditor you want to see. Who was changing something? Determine whether or not critical applications were identified to make sure that they're covered, and in case there aren't enough resources, there's not enough time, not enough processing, not enough memory, that the critical applications are run. It's like in our case, we used to batch run a bunch of reports and leave them overnight, but some reports were much more important than others. And if we had only so much CPU power, we wanted to make sure those were scheduled first. Make sure that there are scheduling procedures that make the best use of system resources, and determine if the workload is appropriate for the scheduled staff. I tell you, staff is almost always overworked. And so now it becomes a matter of, well, how well did you manage what folks could do while we're trying to get more folks in, or there is no more budget? How well did we manage their workload? We want to see if the daily work schedule informs the operators of what the work is. So the operators should come in, they should be able to see, okay, I know what I need to do next. I know what's high on my priority. And whether or not they can hand off something to another operator in the next shift, or pass it off to another person to do. And review all of the published procedures for gathering and analyzing and using performance indicators when we're looking at the service level agreements.